It's just interesting that, the desire to put yourself in that position and hold for a second, not run away from that horrible feeling of, muscles burning and brain and ego just tells you, stop it. It's convincing. You don't need this. You're hurting yourself. Stop running. It's not good. All these voices come out. And if you can just shut that down and go a little bit longer, sometimes you can pull a marathon out of that.
I have a great story
Yeah.
if we want to dive into it, but
We want to.
so I just climbed Denali, right?
Yeah. That's crazy. So can you tell a little bit, just the basic details of where's Denali? What is it? Why do people think it's a good idea to go do that?
Just like Guide Gap, Denali started in my windowless cube. I was like, what's the tallest mountain in North America? Like, I want to climb it.
Right.
And I saw Denali was there, but it cost about $10,000 to $15,000 to climb guided, right? So I went through this whole plan of devising, like, okay, how can I climb this not guided? This was 7 years ago. So this was a 7-year plan and we were ready 2020.
Yeah.
I had the team, bunch of buddies from my high altitude mountaineering school.
How big is this team?
At the time, it was 6 people, 2 rope teams of 3. And we were all from the high altitude mountaineering school. And obviously we were headed to a training climb. And then all of a sudden we get word that they're no longer giving permits to climb Denali because of COVID. Bummer. So now we fast forward to 2021. A few people couldn't do it in 2021. So now finally, after 7 years of like training, climbing, Colorado 14ers in the winter, just nonstop, whatever.
So you trained with this team organically, physically together?
Yeah, we're just friends and climbing partners, and I've been up Rainier with a lot of them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And finally we're ready, 2021. Everyone's in shape. We have 4 people on the team. We hit the mountain, like, so thankful for there were 2 people on our team that were just organizers. Like, we got to have this. And like, they took care of everything.
Logistics and equipment.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so we finally got on this mountain. We're prepared. Like, we're all in great physical shape. And everything's going smoothly. The way that you climb Denali, or just to explain a little bit about Denali. Denali is the tallest mountain in North America. It's arguably one of the top 10 most difficult mountains to climb in the world. Traditionally, it takes anywhere around like 21 days to climb. So 3 weeks. So we allotted 3 weeks where we have about 3 weeks worth of food. And what makes Denali unique is if we climbed it independently, and that means you don't climb with guides. Like, we had the skills and everything to climb it. What makes it unique is you're hauling all of the weight. So you can go to the Himalayas and hire Sherpas to carry your stuff, and you can go to other places carry your stuff. But what makes Denali unique is there's no service like that. You carry your stuff. So
From
you
beginning to end.
You have a 50-pound pack on your back, and you have about a 70-pound sled that you're dragging.
Oh, wow.
And the way that you do it is you have different base camps. So you have about 4 base camps. Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, Camp 4. And they're all different elevations. So the first one's at 7,000, second one's at 11,000, third one's at 14,000, and the fourth one's at 17,000, then you go for the summit. For most of the camps, you're not going to carry that much weight with you. Right. So what you do is you take half the weight and you carry it up, and then you go all the way back to the camp that you're staying at.
Oh, wow.
And then you pack up the rest of the stuff the next day, and you carry it up and you set up camp. And then the next day you go and you pick up the other stuff that you buried in the snow. And then all of a sudden you're at Camp 2. So
why would you bury it in the snow?
Just because so the birds don't eat your food, so it doesn't blow away.
Yeah.
You basically have like these flags, these little bamboo flags that you put in the snow to like mark, hey, this is where we buried our stuff. And you have to bury it deep because there's birds out there.
Just go after these
yeah,
things.
they just destroy food.
Birds
out
are
there.
Nasty, man. They can get into things.
They get into it, yeah.
Wow.
So like when you say, okay, I moved to Camp 1, Camp 2, it's like a 3-day affair.
Wow.
So yeah, everything was going really smoothly. Like, team's great, everything's great. And we get to 14 camp. So again, we were at camp 1, camp 2, now we're at 14 camp. And we had a meteorologist helping us with the weather, telling us like, hey, you guys should go. There's a weather window coming in. And basically we're at 14 camp and the meteorologist is like, if you guys are going to make a move,
You need to make it.
you have 2 days to make that move, or you're going to be stuck in your tents for at least 9 days.
Wow.
And like,
That
we're
sucks.
at 14,000 feet in Alaska. Like, a storm would suck. Like,
You just don't want that.
yeah. And we've dealt with storms at the first camp, and we're just not. we're just not going to do that. So
Not feeling it.
yeah. So again, we had just arrived at 14 camp, and so we had to go get our stuff that we buried in the snow about 1,500 feet down and like vertically down. So we go and we get that, and as we're like skiing, my buddy hurt himself.
Oh no.
He wiped out on a slope, and he just fell on his back wrong. So, okay, well, now here we are. We got our stuff. We're back at 14 camp. My buddy can't really move. And we really don't want to be stuck here for another like 7 to 9 days in our tents. Like, you're stuck in your tents, like,
Well,
and it's below zero. It's just cold. So we were like, okay, again, we're a team of 4. We were like, we will carry your stuff up to camp 17, and then we'll bury it in the snow, and we'll come back down for you. So we do that. There's this, going from camp 14 to 17, there's like this ice wall where they have fixed lines, but it's about 1,500 feet of just ice, like vertical.
fixed lines, as in basically.
They have set pickets in
Yeah.
there, so you can sort of use the ropes already established to like help get you up, so you don't like, if they weren't there and if you fell, like,
It's not good.
yeah. So we're all doing this. Again, we're a team of 4, and the 3 of us go, and we're carrying my buddy's stuff. So we all have about like 40-pound packs, and we're above 14,000 feet.
Carrying him how?
We're carrying his stuff.
Oh.
He's hanging out in 14 camp, and
Okay.
we're going to 17 camp to, bury the stuff in the snow.
Hello.
And like come back down with him.
We got a guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Okay. Okay, good.
But long story short, we do this, and it's a long day. Like, we've never been above 14,000 feet, and God, does the air get thin? Like, holy, like,
Yeah.
you just start moving slower.
And you guys are used to this, and you're prepared for this, and you're ready for this,
Yeah,
relatively speaking.
yeah, we're in shape, but we've never been at that altitude.
Right.
So we carry all the stuff up, and we come back down. It was like a 9-hour day, heavy. We get back to camp. It's 8 p.m. and we're exhausted.
Yeah.
But like, the next day is our summit window. So here we are at camp 14. Not only do we have to like go to 17,000, but then we're going to go from 17,000 to the summit of Denali all in the same day.
Which is what altitude?
20,300 something.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Pilots, usually, if you're going on unpressurized cabins, 14,000 is when you start
Yeah.
putting your mask on.
Yeah, I felt like it.
You guys carry oxygen up there?
Nah, no, we don't.
Just adjust?
Yeah. And that's a nice thing about doing like carrying stuff, coming back down to camp,
Gives you time to
acclimatize.
Yeah.
So we've been on the
Acclimatize.
mountain for 9 days. So we're sort of acclimatized, but
Right.
we've never been above 17,000 feet. So we get back at camp at like 8 p.m. We're all spent, and we got to wake up at 5 a.m. The next day and make our summit push. So, and finally, like, luckily my buddy's back is better, and he's like, okay, I can do it.
You got some rest.
Yeah. So we wake up 5 a.m. Body's still worked from the day before, and we start going up. and it's just cold. And again, we got to climb this like 1,500 vertical wall of ice with, again, 40-pound packs because we're carrying the rest of the stuff to set up a camp at 17,000.
Wow.
So
vertical as in vertical?
Vertical feet, yeah. It's pretty steep.
Wow.
And just to make sure my buddy was okay, like I carried the last of his stuff with my stuff. So by the time we get 17,000, again, we're feeling the altitude and pretty worked. Like if this was any other occasion, I would be like, okay, we need a rest day.
Yeah.
Like we're all just pretty spent.
But you know that this is the window and that's it.
That's it. Yeah. So we basically get 17,000 and we set up camp. Oh, you like me now. Yeah.
She gave you the skittish act before.
Yeah. So we set up camp at 17,000. Everything's fine. Now here's where the David Goggins stuff comes in. Long story for David Goggins stuff. But the longest day before I've had this was about 18 hours. I've done
longest day
of moving, just straight moving. That was in Colorado, just circumstances, like big climbing objective, 18 hours. And I've done a few of those. This summit to camp was 21 hours, but it started at 14,000 and the majority of it was at, let's just say the average was 17,000, but really.
Right. You'd say that's the hardest part of the trip?
Yeah, for sure. Like this summit day was ridiculous.
Predefined.
We fit 3 days worth of stuff into a day and a half.
Wow.
All at an altitude that we weren't used to. But yeah, I've never left camp so weak in the legs and like spent already.
Starting like that.
Yeah. Like starting
the hardest day of the trip.
Exactly.
Screwed over, yeah.
And there's this other thing called the Autobahn, which is a very steep slope that you just have to walk across. And it's about 2,000 feet of just walking across. If you fall, you easily could fall into a crevasse. A lot of people die there.
Wow.
And my buddy Joel, he led that section. And as soon as we were done with it, like we all like regathered and like the wind picked up. Like we're talking, it was at least in the negatives. The bad part was since we were at such a high altitude, you can't put a face mask up because you can't breathe.
Yeah.
So you're just like taking it in the face, trying to cover up your, it was just bad. And, so my other buddy's like, well, if we're going to get up here, like you got to lead the rest of this. And that involves like breaking trail and all of this stuff. And like, again,
what does that mean?
Breaking trail is just like fresh snow on the ground. And like, imagine last time you were in fresh snow and like when you take a step, you just like fall into it.
Yeah.
That's what breaking trail is. You just like constantly just like, dang, this sucks.
This is not, trail ready. We're just making the trail.
Yeah. So we're going along and like we're just getting wind blasted and I'm like, well, in my head I'm like, I got an hour and a half like left in me.
Yeah.
Like that's what I got.
That's what you're telling yourself.
Tops like based on all of my experience, all of my long days, like that's what I have.
Yeah.
And like at that moment as I'm thinking that like,
David Goggins like wakes up in the middle of his sleep like
yeah, exactly.
No, you don't.
Well, so as soon as I think that like a guided group is coming down, I'm like, oh, like, what do we got? Like an hour and a half? and the guy's like, what do you mean? He's like, no, to the summit, you guys at least have 5 to 6 hours. And then you probably have about 3 hours of a descent. And
what
like,
a smack in the face.
Oh my God.
That just takes every piece of air out of your sails.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had a team powwow after that.
Wow.
And fortunately, one of the members in our group, like we were all feeling it. Like it wasn't just me.
It's contagious.
Yeah, it was something.
Yeah.
And
once everybody's like, "Oh, you're feeling it too?" Yeah. It's like if it goes around, it revolves.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was something. But fortunately, we had someone on our team who never drinks caffeine. Thank God, because they'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But
got enough energy as is.
Yeah. But like at that moment, she was feeling it too, and so she finally took like these gummies that had caffeine in them, And like she just like perked up and was like, "Guys, I feel great. Like let's go
Let's
for
do
another
it.
let's go for another 30 minutes." And I'm like, "All right, well like we've done this." And as we're talking, like this whole storm cloud came in. And if this storm cloud hits us, like we freeze to death.
It's not a good place to be.
Yeah,
when this happens.
And I can't say we will freeze to death because we have like the gear, but like going back to the Autobahn, you can't wear like heavy mittens to like get through it because you need to handle the rope, you need to clip into anchors and stuff like that.
Well, you're putting yourself in actual real life danger territory.
It would like that.
It would be a bad day.
Coming.
It's like emergency style.
So like as we just got slapped in the face with this whole 5-6 hour thing, and then like we see this cloud coming in, like we have the very like talk. We were like, okay, maybe we should turn around, and then finally Nicole, who's climbing on the climbing team, who had just had the caffeine, she's like, guys, let's just go for another 30 minutes. Like I feel like this. So like, all right, let's just do it. So
making everybody feel like a bitch.
Yeah, well, just like, okay. I think we were too tired to feel like anything. Yeah. And finally, like I've never climbed a mountain before where the higher we climbed, the less wind there was. But like the wind finally started stopping, and like all of a sudden it's like, oh.
That second wind comes in.
Oh my God. But out of my whole mountaineering career, I've never felt a moment, or I don't think I've ever been pushed so to the limit, like where I realized like I kind of went in an out of body experience and was like, oh my God, I don't need to stop. Like I'm going to do this. Like,
wow.
And it was the first time ever where it was just, the mind literally took over. Like my body was just a vessel of little like steps,
right?
Just steps. Like that's all it had to do. And it was just a vessel. And like my body was like, yeah, man, you're good. Like,
isn't that crazy that could happen? And
for that 5 to 6 more hours, like I broke trail, like, and my team actually had to tell me to slow down because I was speeding up, like to get to the summit. And like, sure enough, we get to the summit, and yeah, we come back down and all was good. So, but it was exactly
Did
what I
other
wanted
people
it to be.
say that they were feeling the same way?
Oh, there were tears involved. People were bonking. Like, yeah,
it's a strong moment.
It was the best thing I got from climbing Denali was that moment I just experienced. Like that was my personal like goal, is to really just feel not feeling, I guess.
It's hard to explain that. I know what you're talking about. It's not a thing that most people get to experience, and you need to push yourself exactly beyond your limits.
I mean,
nothing less.
Like
and if you're in shape, that's pretty far.
Yeah. And so that was my personal thing. But the other part of it was to be with friends.
Right.
And seeing
experiences
your friends like bonk and get pushed to like the lowest point, but then having the team like bring you back, and like that just creates a bond with those people that I'll forever cherish. And like that is my Denali highlight. Like I will vividly remember what every person, like the look and defeat in their eye, and then like what we did and like what we pulled off. So we ended up climbing Denali in 10 days, and then we were off the mountain in 12 days because you have to wait for the airplane.
Is that considered fast, or?
Yeah, typically it takes 21 days. So, yeah.
21 days.
Yeah, so.
That's